Welcome to Chapter 3, where we're going to cover the entire user interface of the AquaCase AC10. So let's go ahead and turn it on, and let's look at the user interface. We can see it is in a stopped position right now. So we're just going to press that once. So we'll take a quick look at the user interface, the screen at this point. On the bottom left, that is the suction pressure. Now, of course, we are in a lift condition. That's why it is negative currently. We can see frequency, currently somewhere around 60, 61 hertz. Set point is 35. That's where we've set that constant pressure to run at. We are matching that currently, 34, 35 PSI. That's the actual pressure. Automatic mode, that means that it's running off of the transducer. Now we can change that to manual mode, which we'll get into here in a minute. And again, we are currently running. We also have a flashing screen indicating that the unit is running. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press and hold, and that will stop the unit. So let's look at the 4 simple keypad operations. Of course, the increase and decrease buttons, and we'll see how those work when we go through the menu. The check is the enter or save, and the menu button right here. That's also a back button. So let's get into the menu. We want to just simply press that particular button. You don't need to press and hold, just press that. And we're going to go through each and every one of these parameters. So we'll get to the top one here, which is control. So what you want to do is you want to hit the enter button, and you can see we're in the mode. Again, hit the enter button to highlight it, and then you can hit your up and down button to see what options you have. So we can see the default here is auto. That just means that it's running off of the pressure sensor, the transducer. It's automatic. You're not really sure, you just hit the up and down button to see what the options are, or refer to your manual. And we can see the other option here is hand. So we can run this manually by hand. And let's go ahead and just do that so you can see what that looks like. And so you got to hit the enter button. Okay. And now let's just go ahead and turn it on. So that one you do have to press and hold. Let's get back to the display. And we can see what changes there is the hand is the frequency. So we're no longer in PSI, we're looking at frequency. So we could change that. So let's go ahead and turn it off again. So again, press and hold. Let's get back to the menu. So you just need to press that once. We're going to go back into control. And let's change that. Let's change that back to the default, which is the looking at the sensor. So again, highlight it. So we're back in auto mode. So again, you got to enter or save. So I'm going to hit the check box. Go down to the next, which is set point. And so we can change the set point here in the menu. And again, simply highlighting it and then hitting the increase or the decrease buttons for that. And just remember, you got to save it. We're going to hit the check box here, and let's go on to the next one. This is the minimum frequency. And again, we can look at our manual to see what the range is. We can just open it up here, and we can see that the minimum, actually the smallest, is 10, and we can go up from from there. So that's the min frequency, that's the lowest speed that you are going to allow this to operate at. So let's go back to 10. Again, you got to save it. Next is the drop. And drop is your restart, your pressure drop. In terms of PSI, what amount of PSI do you want that to fall to, right, after it's in sleep mode, before it restarts again? So that's your restart mode, and in this case here we call it drop. Typically it's 5 PSI, but again, you could change it, right? So you could play around with that and change it. Typically 5 PSI is pretty common for your restart value, and that is, in this case, 5 PSI below your set point, right? 5 PSI below your set point. So let's keep it at, let's go to 5. Again, enter. Now, a just very quick review of the last 3 here. One is proportional gain, the other is integral gain, and the third one is dither. So these are very rarely used sort of tuning parameters that we won't go into detail here, but if you do need to really fine-tune your system in very extremely rare cases, you can look at your manual or call tech support for those. More than likely, you will not have to make any changes for those 3 parameters. So let's go back, and so that is it for control. The next one is dry pump. So let's get into that. Let's open that up, and the first option that you see here is what mode do you want? Now again, the default right out of the box is progressive. And progressive just basically means that if the unit faults on dry well, right, low water, dry pump it's called here, then progressive means that the time to restart progressively gets longer after each fault. So again, the default mode is progressive. What options do we have? So we're going to hit the down button. So you could turn that dry pump protection off. That's an option. We could put a fixed time in there. That's another option in terms of the restart. When do you want this thing to restart? And you can put your own fixed time in there. So that's an option. The other is no restart. And so that means that if it trips off on dry pump, then it will not try to restart, and there has to be a manual restart for that. So those are your options. So let's leave that at progressive. So again, I'm going to save that. I'm going to go down. So again, more on dry pump. This is a limit. This is a percentage of the amperage of the pump, so you could change that. If it's too sensitive or not sensitive enough, you could change that percentage of, again, the motor amperage. So we're going to leave that at 70%. And the next one here is the delay. Once it hits that limit, then in this case here, how long do you want it to wait, to kind of stabilize before it throws that fault? And again, that's adjustable, and so you could change that with the up and down button, and we're going to leave that at 10. Okay, so that's all of the parameters under the dry pump protection feature. So again, I'm just hitting that menu button to go back. Another protection you have is low pressure. So let's open that up, and we can see that you have some options with low pressure protection, both on the discharge as well as the suction. So you could put 2 protections there, one on suction, one on discharge if you want. And in this case here, we're going to start with the discharge. Again, if you wanted to put some protection on the suction side, we're just going to highlight that and change that to inlet or suction. Let's go back to discharge. And this would be enable, right? It's currently off. If you want to enable that protection, you would just hit on. And next, again, a delay. So again, once it hits that pressure, it's going to delay a certain amount of time. You see the default here is 1 minute. Again, you could change that. So we'll leave that at 1 minute. And then the last one here is, well, what pressure do you want this to trip at? And again, that's in PSI. So you could change that to whatever you want. So we'll just leave that at 20. We do have it off right now. So again, that is the process for discharge. You would do the same thing for inlet or suction. And again, you can have both protections on at the same time. So let's go back. The next option here in the menu is sensor. So again, because we have two different sensors here, we could zero out, sort of calibrate that sensor, both sensors, and this is how you would do it here. Discharge, we're set to discharge. It does sort of take you through the process. It says make sure that there's zero pressure on your system, which we can see here we don't have any pressure on the system. It is off. We'll just open that up to make sure, and we'll hit OK, and that's it. So that's all you have to do to calibrate both sensors. Again, you could do this on both the inlet or suction and the discharge. So we're going back. The next is faults. And so this will tell you fault 1, fault 2, fault 3, fault 4, so you can see the last 4 faults. And also, if you want to reset those faults, this is how you would do that. So we're just going to do it here, okay, and then it's just reset all those, the last 4 faults. So okay, and so that's it for faults. Now statistics is just read only. Right, so let's take a quick look there. We can see all kinds of things. We can reset the stats if you want. We can see what is the max pressure that this unit has seen, the max current in amps, the max volts in volts, max temperature, the number of pump starts, the number of power cycles, on time, run time. And so those are all the stats that you could see. And again, you can reset those if you want to. So again, let's go back. And the last one is the system. So let's go and take a look at that one. So this is the priming mode. So we'll go through that. So in chapter 2, we talked about, if I have a lift condition, what do I need to do? Well, I need to have a foot valve on the suction. I need to go into the back and reverse that spring, right? And make sure that spring is on the inside. So we just need to flip that. And then we need to fill the pump full of water, right? So once we've done all that, and again, in a lift condition only, then we would go in here in the system in priming mode. So we would just say enter priming mode, and we're going to hit OK. All right, confirm the priming valve. That's one we talked about. That's the spring in the back, right? We've already flipped that. And so we've got that. We're going to hit OK. And it takes you right through it. Fill the pump with water, right? So we've already done that. We're going to hit OK. So we can see here priming in progress, and it does have a countdown timer if it takes too long. That's some added protection. And we can see here priming success is okay. I mean, in this case we've already primed it, but That would be the last step that you would do for a lift condition. So let's go ahead and turn that off. Again, press and hold. All right, so that's priming mode. LCD sleep, so that's your display. It is currently off, so it never goes to sleep. And let's look at some options here. You could change that to 1 minute, so the display just goes dark after 1 minute. And in order to light it back up, you just hit any of the buttons. But sleep mode, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or off, right? Let's say you never want it to go to sleep. So we'll just leave it there. And then the next one is lock. So you can lock the display. So lock, we're gonna hit on. So we can see the little display here, it says it's locked. Well, how do I unlock it? And again, that's in the manual, but you just press and hold the menu button, and then it unlocks. All right, so if you did want to lock it, you could do that. So we'll get back into the system again. And so the next one's very important. That's your factory reset. Really, with any drive, you really want to know, does it have a factory reset, and how do I do a factory reset? Sometimes it's a combination of the keypad, other times it's in the menu like we can see here, and that is just perform factory reset. We would hit OK. All right, and so what that does is that resets everything, all of the parameters to factory default, right? We just went through a lot of the went through all the parameters, and so there's a lot of changes that you can make, and so if you want to just, reset everything to the factory, that's how you would do it here, and you would hit OK. A couple other things you can see here is the product name, right? The part number and the version of the software. That's all the parameters, for the AquaCase AC10. So again, let's just get it running again here. So that one you do have to press and hold. So we can see here, again, the main purpose of this is to supply constant pressure, right? We want constant pressure in our system regardless of the demand. In this case here, this is my system pressure here. I want to maintain 35 psi regardless of the demand in my system. So say the demand, we don't have any demand anymore, it goes to sleep, and it's going to basically be in standby mode, and it's waiting, right? Waiting for that pressure drop. In our case, it was set to 5. So when that pressure goes to 5 psi below your set point, that turns it back on again and wakes it up. All right, so we'll give a little demand. So wakes it up, turns it back on, and then it's going to give you that constant pressure, whatever pressure you set that to operate at. So we'll go back to sleep again. So that was all the parameters in the AC10 AquaCase complete system. And that wraps up the entire series of 3 different chapters that we have for the AquaCase AC10 complete package system. So thank you for watching. Be sure to check out our website and our YouTube page for all of our other training videos.